Imagine a luxury SUV that doesn't need a giant badge to announce its arrival. No oversized chrome. No delicate bodywork designed only for the city. No pretending that luxury and toughness have to live in separate worlds. Instead, imagine something built with the DNA of one of the world's most respected off-road nameplates, then sharpened with a darker, more aggressive GR Sport attitude. This is the idea behind the 2027 Toyota Land Cruiser GR Sport. And if Toyota pushes the Land Cruiser formula far enough toward premium design, this could become one of the most interesting alternatives to the traditional luxury SUV. Because the Land Cruiser has always had something that many expensive SUVs struggle to create: credibility. It doesn't need to convince you that it can handle difficult terrain. It has decades of history behind that reputation. But the modern Land Cruiser has also evolved into something more sophisticated. Toyota describes the current 2027 model as a balance between rugged capability and refined luxury, while its latest updates add features such as available heated and ventilated second-row seats and a high-mounted air intake. And that combination is exactly where the GR Sport idea becomes fascinating. Exterior design. From the first glance, the Land Cruiser's design is about presence. The body is upright, squared, and confident. It doesn't chase the soft, aerodynamic shape of a typical luxury crossover. Instead, it embraces its heritage. The front end sits tall and purposeful, with a broad Toyota heritage grille creating an unmistakable face. For a GR Sport-inspired interpretation, imagine that familiar design transformed with darker finishes, stronger contrast, more aggressive bumper detailing, and a wider visual stance. The result isn't luxury through decoration. It's luxury through confidence. The headlights would become one of the most important elements of the face. Sharp LED signatures could frame the front corners, giving the SUV a technological expression while preserving the rugged geometry underneath. And that contrast is what makes this design so compelling. You have modern lighting. You have premium proportions. But underneath it all is a vehicle that still looks like it could leave the pavement at any moment. That is very different from the traditional luxury SUV formula. The Range Rover approach has historically been about elegance first. The Land Cruiser approach is different. It says elegance doesn't have to mean weakness. Move around to the side and the proportions become even more impressive. The upright windshield, strong shoulder line, squared wheel arches, and substantial ground clearance create a silhouette that immediately communicates durability. For our GR Sport vision, the wheels become a major part of the personality. Think large, dark alloy wheels with a technical multi-spoke design, wrapped in performance-oriented tires. Not flashy for the sake of being flashy. Functional, muscular, expensive-looking. The lower body could feature dark protective elements that visually connect the front and rear sections, while subtle GR-inspired detailing adds just enough aggression. And then there is the color. A deep black or graphite finish would make this Land Cruiser look almost stealth-like. Under direct sunlight, the body would reveal its sculpted surfaces. At night, the reflections would turn the SUV into something completely different. This is where Toyota could potentially create a vehicle that feels premium without losing its identity. Because the Land Cruiser doesn't need to become a Range Rover. It simply needs to become the best version of itself. The rear design. At the rear, the philosophy continues. The shape remains upright and practical, but the details can become considerably more sophisticated. Slim LED taillights could create a modern signature across the rear corners. A strong tailgate would maintain the Land Cruiser's practical character, while a darker lower bumper and subtle performance details could give the GR Sport-inspired version a more athletic stance. And from a three-quarter rear angle, this SUV would look particularly impressive. Wide, tall, solid, expensive, but never fragile. That's an important distinction. The entire exterior communicates a message. This isn't a luxury SUV that happens to be capable. It's a capable SUV that has learned how to become luxurious. The interior. Now open the door, and this is where the transformation becomes even more interesting. The cabin should feel like a completely different world from the terrain outside. Imagine dark, premium upholstery, contrasting stitching, soft-touch surfaces, metallic accents. and carefully integrated GR-inspired details. The dashboard would be broad and horizontal, giving the cabin a sense of width. Instead of covering everything in unnecessary decoration, the luxury would come from material quality, precision, and atmosphere. The driver's area should immediately feel serious. A digital instrument display could present essential information with crisp graphics, while the central touchscreen would provide access to navigation, media, vehicle settings, and connected functions. But the most important part isn't the screen. It's how everything feels around it. The physical controls, the substantial steering wheel, the tactile switches, the seating position, the visibility. These details can make a modern SUV feel genuinely premium. And then there is the second row. For 2027, Toyota has added available heated and ventilated second-row outboard seats to the Land Cruiser, a feature that directly strengthens its luxury credentials. That matters because rear seat comfort is one of the areas where premium SUVs traditionally separate themselves from mainstream vehicles. Imagine settling into those seats after a long journey. Climate control is adjusted. The cabin is quiet. The road disappears beneath you. And suddenly the Land Cruiser's rugged exterior feels almost disconnected from the interior experience. That's the dual personality that makes this vehicle so interesting. Technology. Technology would play a supporting role rather than becoming the entire personality of the vehicle. The modern Land Cruiser already combines digital displays, advanced connectivity, camera systems, and off-road monitoring technology. And for a premium GR Sport interpretation, the visual presentation could become even more dramatic. Imagine starting the vehicle and seeing a custom performance-inspired animation appear across the digital display. Drive modes could be displayed with clean graphics. Camera views could show obstacles around the vehicle. And when the terrain gets difficult, the technology becomes more than entertainment. It becomes useful. That's a key Land Cruiser philosophy. Technology should help you control the vehicle, not distract you from it. Performance. But here's the part that separates this SUV from many luxury alternatives. Under the hood, the 2027 Land Cruiser uses Toyota's 2.4-liter turbocharged iForce Max hybrid powertrain. Toyota rates the system at 326 net combined horsepower and 465 pound-feet of torque. That means this isn't simply a beautiful SUV. There is serious torque underneath the body. The hybrid system combines a turbocharged engine with an electric motor integrated into the transmission system, creating strong low-speed response while maintaining the Land Cruiser's focus on durability. And then there is the drivetrain. Full-time four-wheel drive is standard. The Land Cruiser also offers serious off-road hardware, including locking differentials and systems designed to help the driver manage difficult terrain. This is where the luxury SUV comparison becomes fascinating. A Range Rover may glide through a city with incredible sophistication. But the Land Cruiser brings a different kind of confidence. It wants to take you somewhere. And it wants to bring you back to the GR Sport personality. The GR Sport name changes the emotional character of the vehicle. Instead of looking like a traditional luxury cruiser, the SUV becomes more athletic. The wheels become darker. The trim becomes more aggressive. The body appears wider. The stance becomes lower and more purposeful. And the overall message becomes clearer. This isn't just about arriving. It's about arriving with attitude. For a cinematic interpretation, imagine the Land Cruiser emerging from a dark tunnel at night. The headlights illuminate the road. The black paint catches the city lights. The camera moves slowly around the front corner. And the GR-inspired details become visible one by one. That is the moment where the Land Cruiser stops looking like an ordinary SUV. It starts looking like a luxury statement. Driving experience. Behind the wheel, the experience should be about confidence rather than nervous excitement. The seating position gives you a commanding view. The SUV's size creates a sense of security. And the hybrid powertrain provides the kind of immediate torque that makes a heavy vehicle feel surprisingly responsive. But when the road ends, the personality changes. This is where Toyota's engineering philosophy becomes obvious. The TNGF platform underneath the Land Cruiser is shared across several Toyota trucks and SUVs, and the vehicle is engineered around strength, durability, and off-road performance. Available systems such as Multi-Terrain Select, Crawl Control, and Multi-Terrain Monitor can help the driver deal with challenging surfaces. So imagine taking this luxury SUV away from the city. leaving the highway, leaving the pavement, moving onto dirt, then gravel, then rocks. The cabin remains comfortable. The technology remains available. But the vehicle underneath is still a Land Cruiser. That is the real advantage. Price and value. And then we arrive at the biggest question. How much would you actually pay for something like this? Toyota's official US 2027 Land Cruiser starts at around $58,000 before options, although pricing varies by trim, equipment, destination, and market. A true GR Sport version, particularly if positioned above the regular range, could naturally cost more. But that's exactly what makes the concept so compelling. You don't need to spend Range Rover money to get the visual presence of a serious luxury SUV. And you don't have to sacrifice the Land Cruiser's core identity to get premium comfort. That's the sweet spot. The final verdict. So, is this really the SUV that can say goodbye to Range Rover? Probably not in the literal sense. The Range Rover still has extraordinary brand recognition, luxury, comfort, and road presence. But that's not really the point. The 2027 Toyota Land Cruiser represents a different definition of luxury. Luxury that doesn't require fragility. Luxury that doesn't disappear when the pavement ends. Luxury built around confidence. And if Toyota brings the GR Sport philosophy fully into the Land Cruiser's premium character, the result could be one of the most compelling luxury off-road SUVs on the market. It would be a vehicle that looks expensive without looking delicate. A vehicle that feels sophisticated without forgetting where it came from. And a vehicle that can sit outside a five-star hotel 1 minute and climb a rough mountain trail the next. That's why the Land Cruiser remains so special. It doesn't need to become something else. It only needs to become better at being itself. The 2027 Toyota Land Cruiser GR Sport, as envisioned here, isn't simply about horsepower, wheels, or aggressive styling. It's about combining two worlds that rarely meet perfectly, luxury and adventure. And if Toyota gets that balance right, the biggest surprise won't be that the Land Cruiser can challenge expensive luxury SUVs. The biggest surprise will be how little it needs to change to do it. Because perhaps the future of luxury isn't about going softer. Perhaps it's about becoming stronger, smarter, and more capable, while making every journey feel first class. And that is exactly why the Land Cruiser could be one of the most fascinating luxury SUVs of its generation.